In the heart of the Gobi Desert, something unbelievable was uncovered in July of 2024. A team of paleontologists stumbled upon the remains of a creature thought to be lost forever, a brand new dinosaur named Deinonychus sagbatari. Its claws alone measured more than 12 inches, still sharp, still terrifying, still covered with the original keratin, as if time itself had forgotten to destroy it. Most fossils only leave behind bones, but this one was different. It was so perfectly preserved that even its joints and muscles told stories of how it once moved and hunted 70 million years ago. For scientists, this was one of the most complete predatory dinosaurs ever found in Asia, a predator frozen in time, waiting for us to rediscover it. But that wasn't the only strange discovery hidden in the desert. Far away in the blazing wastelands of South Australia, scientists working with the indigenous Anangu people uncovered a lizard unlike any other. Known to locals for generations as pucha, this reptile had scales arranged in an eerie, otherworldly pattern. Its DNA revealed that it had split off from all other lizards thousands of years ago, surviving in complete isolation, hidden from the modern world. Without the guidance of the indigenous people, this secret would have remained buried in the red desert sands forever. And then, in Iran's scorching Lut Desert, one of the hottest places on Earth, an animal appeared from nowhere. It was a shrimp. Yes, a shrimp, but unlike any other. The Phocryptis fahem lives as eggs buried in the salt flats, dormant for years, maybe decades. But among the strangest, one shines like metal forged by the desert sun, the silver ant. These insects march out only during the deadliest heat of the day, when even predators dare not move. Their bodies gleam like polished chrome, reflecting the sun, their long legs keeping them above the burning sand. They move at incredible speeds, scavenging corpses of creatures that the desert has claimed. In the silence of the Sahara, their shining bodies race like sparks of living silver. And if you think that's bizarre, listen closely. In the dry grasslands of South America, a creature crawls through the night with armor and fur, the screaming hairy armadillo. Yes, it screams. A high-pitched, almost human cry that terrifies anything daring to attack. When it's not screaming, it's digging tunnels, fast enough to vanish in seconds, leaving predators stunned. Yet nothing compares to the camel spider. Found across the Middle East and North Africa, this nightmare creature looks like it came from a horror movie. Its jaws are almost the size of its body, strong enough to crush lizards, insects, even scorpions. It runs at lightning speed, 10 miles an hour, and though it has no venom, its bite is excruciating. It hides by day, hunts by night, and disappears before you ever know it was there. And finally, the sandfish lizard. Smooth, shiny, and alien-like, it doesn't just burrow into sand, it swims through it, wriggling like a fish in water. With sealed nostrils and eyes shut tight, it disappears under the desert surface in seconds, hunting creatures in a hidden world beneath our feet. Its movements were so mysterious that engineers studied it to design robots that could move through rubble, sand, and even disaster zones. The desert. Empty at first glance, but alive with secrets, monsters, and mysteries. From armored ants to ghost shrimp, from screaming armadillos to giant viruses, it is a place where life has bent and twisted itself to survive. A place where discoveries rewrite science, and where new mysteries wait, buried under endless dunes of time. Fading echo. What else could still be hidden beneath the sands? Perhaps the strangest creature of all has yet to be uncovered. The desert was thought to be silent, but that silence was only a disguise. Among the strange creatures and buried secrets, one man stumbled into something far more dangerous than science had ever prepared him for. His name was Armin, a young explorer and researcher who had been tracking the discovery of Deinonychus sagbatari. But unlike other scientists, Armin wasn't just looking for bones. He believed the desert was hiding something far more advanced, something that blurred the line between the ancient past and the future. It all began when he found claw marks near the fossil site. Fresh marks, the claws dragged across stone, cutting deep as though the creature wasn't extinct but still alive. At first he thought it was a hoax, but then he heard it, an echoing screech carried by the wind. It wasn't any animal he knew. That night, as the silver ants gleamed under the moon and camel spiders darted across the sand, Arman felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. Something was moving underground, fast like the sandfish lizard, but much, much bigger. Suddenly, the dunes split open. From beneath the sand rose a massive skeletal form wrapped in glowing tendrils of energy, as if the Deinonychus fossil itself had awakened. Its bones rattled, its claws gleamed, and it moved with an unnatural power. Armin barely escaped as it slammed its claw into the ground, sending waves of sand flying. He ran toward the Lut Desert, where the shrimp had been discovered. If they could return to life after decades of dormancy, could it be possible that something else, something much larger, had also been sleeping beneath the sands? He needed answers, but instead, he found something worse. In the salt flats, under the heat of the burning sun, Armin stumbled upon the research team studying the giant desert viruses. Their camp was in ruins, tents torn apart, strange symbols burned into the ground. No one was there, not a single body, not a single trace. Only buzzing, high-pitched sounds filled the air, as though the desert itself was alive. Then he saw them, machines crawling out of the sand. Not human machines, not anything man had built, but strange biomechanical creatures with glistening armor like the silver ants, moving in swarms. Their bodies reflected the sun, and their movements were too precise, too synchronized. They were alive, but also machines. Armin realized with horror, this was no ordinary desert. It was a testing ground. Something ancient had been hidden here, something that used creatures, fossils, even viruses as experiments. The screaming hairy armadillos shrieked in the distance, spooked by unseen predators. The camel spiders began fleeing their burrows. The desert wasn't just a home to strange life anymore, it was a battlefield. And then as the ground cracked once more, Armin saw it. A colossal figure rising from beneath the dunes, half bone, half metal, glowing with veins of light. It wasn't just a fossil anymore, it was a weapon. The Deinonychus had been reawakened, reborn as something not entirely biological, a fusion of evolution and machine. Armin had two choices: run and survive, or stay and uncover the truth about why the desert was hiding these secrets. But as the glowing creature turned its skull-like head toward him and let out a sound that shook the desert for miles, Armin knew one thing: the mysteries buried in the desert weren't meant to be found, and yet he had found them. The question now was, would he live long enough to tell the world? Armin's heart pounded as the desert roared beneath his feet. The awakened creature, half fossil, half machine, dragged itself from the dunes with glowing veins of light running through its skeleton. Its claws slashed the air, sending bursts of sand like storms across the night. Armin knew this was no natural resurrection. Someone, or something, had built this. He stumbled backward, his torchlight flickering, when the ground cracked again. From beneath the sand, metallic silver ants poured out in swarms, their bodies clinking like armor, their eyes glowing red. They moved in patterns, too perfect to be random, as if controlled by a single intelligence. They surrounded him, clicking and hissing, blocking every escape. Armin grabbed a metal rod from the ruins of the research camp and swung wildly, scattering some of the ants, but more kept coming. Suddenly, a deafening screech ripped through the desert. The colossal Deinonychus fossil let out a roar that shook the stars. The ants froze, then retreated into the sand, as if bowing to their master. Armin realized the horrifying truth: the monster was their leader. The creature lunged forward, claws smashing into the ground where he had stood a second earlier. Armin rolled down a dune, sand choking his mouth, his hands burning. He ran toward the salt flats, but the ground shifted beneath him again. A dark opening appeared, a tunnel carved into the earth. The desert wasn't empty, it was hollow. Against his instincts, Armin dove inside. The tunnel was glowing with strange symbols, like circuits carved into stone. The tunnel was glowing with strange symbols, like circuits carved into stone. The air vibrated as if the walls themselves were alive. Ahead, he saw something impossible: rows of massive chambers filled with skeletal beasts wired with machines, suspended in glass-like prisons, waiting to be awakened. Armin's breath caught. The desert was not just hiding creatures. It was a factory, an ancient facility buried for centuries, maybe longer, where science and something alien had merged, and now it was waking up. The ground above thundered. The giant fossil creature was trying to force its way inside. Armin's only chance was to run deeper. His footsteps echoed as lights flickered on along the tunnel, one by one, as if guiding him. But guiding him to what? rescue, or a trap. He stopped at a massive steel door covered in glowing red lines. As he touched it, the symbols lit up brighter, and the door began to open. A low mechanical hum filled the air. Inside was a circular chamber, and in its center floated a sphere of pulsing light, shifting like liquid fire. Suddenly, the desert ants poured in behind him. The colossal creature's claws ripped open the ceiling. Everything shook. Armin realized this sphere was the source of their power, the heart of the mystery, the reason these beasts had returned. If he destroyed it, maybe he could stop them. But if he touched it, he didn't know if it would kill him or change him forever. The ants closed in. The monster roared from above. Armin took one last deep breath, raised the rod in his hands, and stepped toward the sphere. The desert held,